This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young on ESPN Radio 94.1.
It's the first Saturday of February, which, you know what that means. It's the day away from Super Sunday, Super Bowl 55, which you can hear right here on ESPN Radio 94.1 tomorrow. Matt Hatfield here with you. The coach, Ed Young, is not here, but you can hear him later instead of Matt's terrible impersonation of him, which sounds a little bit like the daddy of Augie Doggy, that cartoon. You ever watch that cartoon, Augie? That's way before your time, even. A little bit before my time, but I saw him as a kid. I would say I was spoiled on it, but maybe I was neglected with all the barbaric cartoons and so forth. Kyle Hightower is on the other side of the glass. Maybe it's Dino Franza's era, although Dino's not here right now. Maybe he'll send in his dog if he has one for the Super Bowl. He got the picks right last week. I'm sorry, the week before at the NFC and AFC Championship game. He's been on a roll. But we'll go through everything in the world of sports that we can get our fingers and hands on today. College, high school. Rev it up. We got a couple of special guests, but let's fire up the scoreboard and let's do it with a little college basketball and high school hoops flair to it this morning. As we got some amazing scores from last night in college hoops. Not a bevy of them, but a couple of them right here close to the 757 front. And if you missed it last night, driving around on the highways and byways all across the Tidewater area, wherever you might have been, you missed a doozy of a game with the Old Dominion Monarchs back in action for the first time in what felt like forever. Actually, first game in 3 weeks after their COVID pause. These short-handed Monarchs, without Malik Curry, their leading scorer, without A.J. Oliver, their second leading scorer, they're down double digits, 14 at the break, 21 in the second half. Stick a fork in them, right? Jeff Jones' team got a little too much heart, pride, toughness, and guts as they showed it last night, rallying for a big Conference USA win over the Marshall Thundering Herd. They get it done last night at the place that used to be known as the TED. Ted was there. Ted Alexander and the Hall of Famer Dave Twardzik. They were there. Chartway Arena. Not a bunch of people were there to see it because we are in the COVID age. 82-81 ODU victorious over Marshall as they stay in the hunt for the CUSA crown. You know, there's a lot of people, by the way, if you haven't noticed, I don't know if you did or not, Kyle, a lot of people this week, very boisterous, and especially those Western Kentucky fans, all mad about, make up this game. Well, listen, pipe down. We're in a pandemic, for crying out loud. I mean, ordinarily, I'd understand. People are still sore in the league about them not playing football this year. Get over it. We're in a pandemic. Pipe down. Take your medicine and go away. Put your mask on, all you dopes outside of Norfolk land. Anyhow, ODU got to the last laugh last night over Marshall. They win it on Kalua Zikbe's dunk with 1:11 left. There was no scoring in the final minute of the game, and the board work was the difference last night. Rebounding, no rebounds, no rings. It's going to be a motto and a theme here. We get to the high school scores in a bit. 50-28 on the glass as they out-rebound Marshall. That's a major wide margin there as Zikbe not only had the 16 points, 12 boards for him. Austin Trice off the bench. What a player he has been and a find. 20 points, 13 rebounds, and Joe Reese with 16 points, 8 rebounds. He's improved a great deal as well. You do the math, 24 offensive rebounds for ODU, which is more than the entire defensive rebound count of 19 for Marshall. Monarchs win it 82-81. They're back at it again today, and you can hear all the action right here on your flagship home for Monarchs Hoops. ESPN Radio 94.1. If you missed Kyle's update there, you might have not heard about the women also getting themselves a W last night. 80-70 on the road over Marshall. Victoria Morris with 21 points, highlighting that fourth quarter there with 15 for her as they get it done over Marshall. ODU has now won 8 of the last 9 meetings with Marshall on the hardwood on the women's side. So they'll try to get sweeps today. Men and women, men at home, women on the road. What else happened in Conference USA on the men's side of things last night? Well, it was Rice. They've been a real story and a surprise. They were picked in the basement by some in CUSA. They beat Southern Miss last night 88-62 as Quincy Oliveri had 29 points in the Rice romp over Southern Miss. Middle Tennessee edging Charlotte 66-65 on Jalen Jordan's 2 free throws with 11 seconds left. That's not the Jalen Jordan, if you're wondering, that played at Lake Taylor High School. Nonetheless, Middle Tennessee gets the win, 66-65 over Charlotte. Bit of an upset as Middle Tennessee is now 4-11. Charlotte is 9-8, 5-4 in the league. 3 more scores to tell you about. My goodness, we've been talking about him even going back to our 7-5-7 at 6 days, Kyle. Keaton Wallace of UTSA. He is a heck of a player for the Roadrunners of UTSA. Texas San Antonio beating Florida International 87-80 last night. Wallace with 33 points, 7 rebounds in that one. UAB, they keep rolling. They're now 8-1 in the league, 15-2 overall. Do they get an at-large bid if they don't win the tournament? You may wonder. CUSA has not been a multi-bid league. You wouldn't think so, but with a couple of leagues down a little bit, even the AC, it's possible. Not saying it's probable, but it's possible. UAB gets the W last night, 63-51 over UTEP, as Trey Jamison gets a double-double, 14 points and 13 rebounds for the Blazers. And Louisiana Tech, yeah, the place where Karl Malone was a star on the hardwood, the place where Terry Bradshaw was throwing that football around. And they got themselves a W, 68-63 over North Texas. Isaiah Crawford, a career-high 27 points for the Bulldogs of La Tech. So those are the scores across Conference USA last night. A couple of scores involving in-state teams on the hardwood in college basketball. Liberty, give me death. They beat Lancaster Bible College. I have no idea where that is, do you? It's not on the Northern Neck. We have Lancaster High School there, but they beat Lancaster Bible College 90-49 as Elijah Cuffey has 19 points for a Flames team that is now 9-0 at home. They're 15-5 overall are Richie McKay's Flames of Liberty University, which made the tournament, the NCAA tournament, just a couple years ago and advanced in that tournament. Radford beating South Carolina Upstate 102-66. Quentin Morton Robertson was 16 points for them. Got a chance to call his state championship game just a couple years ago. George Mason falling to Dayton 74-65, and I believe that covers it for the Commonwealth teams last night. I know, by the way, Hampton's supposed to get off pause, and they're going to have Tubby Smith and High Point coming to town for Sunday, Monday. A couple of games there on the college hoops side of things. One game outside the state of note caught my eye there, Kyle, in the Big Ten last night. You had, as I look back at the scoreboard sheet, Penn State beating Maryland 55-50 as they pulled a couple of upsets. They beat Wisconsin a couple weeks back, and they knock off Maryland last night. All right, moving our attention to the high school front. And I'm going to empty a rant here in just a moment. We'll get to that in a moment. But let's get some scores in from last night. Our buddy Keith, I'm sure, is a happy camper as those Smithfield Packers, they keep rolling. They're undefeated, going to probably be the top seed in Region 4A, although I can't say that with certainty. I'll get to that in a minute with top seeds because I can't figure out this stuff anymore. I'm lost on some of it. Well, Theodos Porter's Packers moved to 6-0 on the campaign as they defeat the Tab Tigers 63-37 last night in the Bay Rivers District. Rashad Tucker, a double-double for him, 20 points, 10 rebounds, couple of blocks, double-double for Tucker. Older brother Keon hit that amazing shot from beyond half court a couple years back in that memorable playoff game against Lake Taylor. Rashad is a player as well as Smithfield stays unblemished on the season. That was the Bay Rivers result last night on the boys' side. One more on the boys' side, by the way. Poquoson, a winner over York, 62-48. On the girls' side, let's go back to some more boys' scores real quick. We'll get to some girls' scores in a second. The Beach District last night. Big showdown at Lansdowne High School in Virginia Beach. Lansdowne, which won the Class 6 title in 2019. Green Run, which shared the Class 5 title in 2020. Green Run was a winner last night, even though their starting point guard, Jacob Cooper, did not play for team discipline reasons. He'll be back for the playoffs, according to Coach Kenneth Harris, though. Green Run wins it without Cooper, 62-47, as Elijah Kennedy pours in 27 points, matching his career high. Donald Hand Jr., one of the nation's top 100 prospects in the junior class, had scored 30-plus in each of his first 3 games, including 37 this week against Princess Anne. Held to a season-low 14 points, did not get his first field goal until the second half, as the Green Run defense was absolutely smothering on Donald Hand Jr., who's a mighty good one. I'm not sure anybody else will hold him under 20 the rest of his career at Lansdowne. So impressive job there as Green Run wins at 62-47. Also impressive for Darren Sanderlin's Kempsville Chiefs. And we'll be talking with Coach Darren D. Nice Sanderlin, the former Booker, the former Norfolk State Spartan, coming up in about 15 minutes or so. His Chiefs victorious 41-28 over Kellum. They played some lockdown defense as well. 22-10 lead at the half over Kellum as they win their 5th in a row to move to 5-1 overall on the season. Princess Anne, they're going to finish up 4-2 on the regular season. They beat Tallwood 62-48 as they bounce back from some losses earlier in the week to Green Run in Lansdowne. Jarrell Pope with a game-high 26 points for the Cavaliers. Josiah Woody's chipping in 13 as George Archer was out for that game. He should be back for PA in next week's playoff in the Region 5A. Cox Falcons opened up the season last night. Yeah, first game and only regular season game. I'm not sure I've ever seen that before in all my years of covering high school sports. They were on COVID pause for the longest, and they got themselves a win. Bobby Wolf's team prevail 55-50 over Salem in their opener as Mason Fisher has 13 points for the Falcons. Bayside, they snap a 5-game losing skid. 56-44, the Marlins win over Ocean Lakes as Damari Daniel has a double-double of 10 points, 12 rebounds. Micah Poe with 21 points to lead the way for Martin Russ's Marlins over there at Bayside High. On the girls' side of things in the Beach District, Princess Anne 75, Tallwood 17. Isaiah James, 15 points for the NC State signee in 9 minutes of play. Played 9 minutes, got 15 points. It's pretty efficient. She also had 4 assists, 8 rebounds. She does it all for Darnell Dozier's team, which at this point, he might be able to coach some of these games in a blindfold and still win. 75-17 over Tallwood. They win it. Salem girls, man, this was a romp as well. 89-11 over Cox as Amaris Felton had 26 points to lead the way for Salem. Good to know that Jason Clark has not been jinxed since he came on this program a few weeks back. And if he was, we would have blamed it on Ed, not me. Kellum wins over Kempsville 54-40. Haley Brewster with 21 points there for Kellum. And the Bayside girls a winner over Ocean Lakes 62-44 as Amani Williams leads the way with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 4 blocks. I did miss a couple of scores I want to give you here on the boys' side when it comes to private schools / smaller schools, Class 1. Cumberland a winner over Franklin last night, 54-50 as freshman Caden Bailey had 23 points and 10 rebounds in a loss for the Broncos, who close out the regular season at 6-5. They will move on to the Region 1B tournament, though, next week. And on the private school scene, Atlantic Shores, they give themselves a W as they more than doubled up Stonebridge, 65-32 behind 23 points from Mikkel Miller. And that will conclude the scoreboard for college hoops and high school hoops. We did that all in about one big swoop, 10 minutes or less. We got it knocked out. And by the way, Kyle, literally in not 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll be having high school football scoreboard. Yeah, it'll be scores from Friday night action in February. How you feel about that? You like that?
It's weird.
It's weird is the best word to put all this. I did a Zoom last night with a couple of players after the game because I haven't been doing, face-to-face interviews with any players here during this pandemic, doing all those. And I've done a couple with coaches, from a distance, but mostly on Zoom if I can, if they're able to oblige and go with that method. But first thing I said, how's it feel to finish up with a win? He goes, it's weird. Exactly what you said. That's what the kids have been saying. But I think they're getting the enjoyment to play some of these games. Now, we're still waiting for the Region 6A tournament pairings and the 4A tournament pairings. We're going to post everything we get by tomorrow on virginiapreps.com. It'll probably be on our VIP and our scoreboard and our front page for people to check out. We put up scores up there as well for all you high school hoops fans. We do have, it just came to us this morning, the Region 5A boys and girls pairings, which I'll read to you now. And 2 teams on the boys' side finished without a loss. 1 team on the girls' side, I wonder who that was, Princess Anne, 6-0. They're the 1 seed. But the 2 teams on the boys' side without a loss, Kyle, Green Run 5-0, defending champ, and Cox 1-0. So who do you think got the 1 seed out of that?
It's got to be Green Run, right?
You would think. 5-0. Math tells me that that's better than 1-0. But we are told that the region did not establish a minimum number of games that teams needed to play this year in order to compete in the tournament. Due to a tie in power ratings, the tie-breaking procedures outlined in the Region 5A handbook ended in a lot draw. So because they're 5-0, Green Run, and Cox is 1-0, they view that as a tie. Last I checked, 5 was more than 1, right? I mean, that's the last I checked.
Both 100%, I guess.
I have no idea. They've done some wild things in their time, some of these people running region tournaments, but that makes absolutely 0 sense. So if you can comprehend it out there, how 1-0 beats out 5-0, and listen, your first instinct and inkling is, well, Green Run gets the screw job here. Listen, they've been pounding everybody by 30+. Their closest game last night was by 15 over Lansdowne without the state player of the year on the floor for them in Jacob Cooper. So I don't care where you seat them. I think they feel pretty confident in their chances that they come to play. Everybody's healthy. And there's always big ifs. If you're healthy, everybody comes to play. The screw job to me is Kempsville, because now they're the 3 seed at 5-1, and they got to see potentially, if they win their quarterfinal game, Bayside, if they win that game, they got to see Green Run, the defending champ who knocked them out a year ago, in the second round, as opposed to seeing them in the region championship next Saturday at 12 noon in their gymnasium. So you could argue, did 1-0 deserve not only to be ahead of 5-0, but 5-1, 4-2. I can live with 1-0 being ahead of the 2-2, 2-5, 0-5. But to me, this is, again, something very simplistic that they could have solved by outlining this beforehand, because anybody, again, can figure this out logically, that 5-0 beats 1-0. We're not talking about minimum number of games here. And, one team played 18 games, one played 22. 5 versus 1. They beat Salem last night by 5 points. I can't for the life of me figure that out. So, if you can, please tweet us at 757 Sports Talk or give us a call at 757-687-9494. If you can look me in the face, or even by phone, you don't have to look me in the face at all. You don't do this virtually. And explain to me, 1-0 is better than 5-0 and more deserving of 1 seed. I'll give it to you, but I don't buy it. So here are the matchups, now that I've kind of said my piece, and I could have been a lot meaner about that, and I probably will as we move on if I get feistier and someone wants to fight me on it. Cox will get a bye as the 1 seed. Get their first game and they get a bye. I think they'll be playing. They've only got 1 game in. For crying out loud, let them play an extra game. The quarterfinals. Gee whiz. They'll get a bye. So Green Run will host in a 2-7, 3-6 doubleheader. They'll host First Colonial, who they beat by nearly, I think it might have been 60 when they played earlier this year. Nonetheless, they'll play First Colonial. I think that's a Monday night game. And Kempsville, the 3, will play the 6 Bayside at Green Run in that quarterfinal, while Princess Anne, the 4 seed at 4-2, will play Salem, the 5 seed at 2-2. That game will be, that game will be at Green Run. So, again, they went off what was sent out. This is no shock. Again, what they put out initially, they've changed, so that's no shock. So Green Run First Colonial is going to be Monday at 6 o'clock, the 2-7 game. The 4-5 game is going to be at 8 o'clock at Green Run. And I guess they moved that game from the 1 seed because the 1 seed gets a bye now. Gloucester was going to be the 8 seed, but they finished without a win, and their season has been canceled the rest of the way due to COVID. So that's happened for a few teams, unfortunately. We hate to see that across the state. Western Albemarle, Liberty Bealton, William Campbell, some teams outside of the Hampton Roads in our immediate listening area. So Kempsville, the 3 seed, will play the 6 seed Bayside at 6 o'clock in its gymnasium at Kempsville on Monday. Now, the winners move to the semifinals at Cox High School, 6 and 8 o'clock doubleheader. Boys championships at noon next Saturday. The girls championships at 2 o'clock next Saturday. The girls is not nearly as complicated and not nearly as confusing. So Princess Anne's the 1 seed. They get a bye. You could argue they get a bye to the state championship, but that's neither here nor there. They'll play the winner of the 4-5 matchup. Kempsville, the 4 seed, will play Bayside, the 5 seed girls quarterfinal at 8 o'clock at Cox on Monday. The 3-6 matchup is Cox versus Gloucester, and the winner there gets Salem, the number 2 seed, who also gets a bye. Now, why do they get a bye? Because Green Run and First Colonial did not conclude its season. They actually had to cancel their season as it got going, whether it was a mixture of COVID or not having enough players. I know in the case of one of them, it's not enough players. I can't speak for the other one. But so there you have it. Salem will play the winner of Cox-Gloucester in a semifinal next Wednesday at 8 o'clock at Princess Anne, while Princess Anne will play the winner of Kempsville-Bayside in a semifinal next Wednesday at Princess Anne. All right, quiz later. And we'll have it's the new math they're learning, Kyle. Apparently 1-0 beats 5-0. So what happens next year if your Eagles win their opener? They should take the next 5 weeks off, and they could be ahead of anybody that's 5-0 in the NFC for the number 1 seed. How about that?
Yeah, just take a pause.
Yeah, take a pause. In my life, again, something new every day. It just goes with 2020-2021, how it makes 0 sense. 0 sense. And honestly, you'd say you feel for Green. I feel more for Kempsville because they got to play Green Run in the second round now. They would have had a region championship potentially if they won in their gym. Is what it is. So let's talk to Keith in Fairmont. Maybe he'll settle me down. Keith, how you doing? Can I hear you, Keith? I don't hear anything.
How you doing, Matt?
Oh, now I hear you. I'm doing swell. I got a little feisty. Did any of that I just mentioned make sense for the boys' pairings, or did that confuse you?
Oh, I didn't hear what you were saying. I was doing something.
Apparently 1-0 beats 5-0 for the number 1 seed. Does that make a lot of sense to you or no?
It don't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Of course, Green Run played. They 5-0. They played 5 games, and Cox played 1.
But according to the administrators, that's the same, and they win the tiebreaker because of a lot draw. I mean, you might as well flip the coin, heads tails. I mean, let's not even take margin of victory into account here. That means nothing. But it's better to flip a coin or do a lot draw. That's the fair way to go. The fair way to go. Got it. All right. What's on your mind, Keith? I'm done with that.
I'm gonna give my shout out to all the coaches in Smithfield, Coach Porters, and all the coaches in Smithfield, and the players too.
They're playing really well, Keith. I mean, I will tell you this: it's them and Grafton, 2 teams in Region 4A, which is strange as well. But statewide, I think they can do some damage here if they get through that. Only taking 1 team to the state tournament this year as opposed to 2. But some teams to watch out for. John Hanley up in Winchester, they're unblemished right now. They got a really good score in Dimitri Gardner. And Monacan out of Richmond, who won a state championship a few years ago over Lake Taylor. They got some key pieces that have stepped up and back from their team that made the states last year. So we might be talking about the Packers making a little state playoff run.
I'm gonna ask Matt Hatfield, how many the games did Smithfield play? They got
6-0. 6-0 is what I've got. I know. When do they play again? Is that what you're asking?
They got one more game. I think they play Grafton yet.
No, I think that game had to get wiped off the board, Keith, because Grafton was coming off a pause. However, and I haven't confirmed this, maybe Jeremy Jordan, if he's listening, or somebody that's a Grafton parent or administrator, if they're listening, can either text in or call the show at 757-687-9494 or tweet us, Hatfield Sports for me, 757 Sports Talk for our Twitter page. I want to say they're playing a game today is Grafton Boys. I think they just get off pause today. I could have that wrong. Tab, maybe? Yeah, I think they're doing a boy-girl double dip today. I think that's the case. But I know there's been some games on the NFHS network that they were supposed to play. I click them, and nothing's there. So I believe they're supposed to play. I can't confirm that unless someone that's in the know there can confirm it.
Who would get a number 1 seed other than Baby Ruth?
That's a great question because, I mean, if they're both 6-0, then that one's a little trickier than 5-0, 1-0, although 1-0 beat out 5-0 in this particular case. Why? Go figure. I'm not sure how they're breaking their tiebreaker. And again, they might not go off what was in their handbook. They might do it a different way from what 5A decided to do. I just feel like if they're going to make something that drastic like they did in 5A, they should communicate the scenario before the season ends so they don't look a little bit, foolish.
Oh, and last thing, off air, high school football on the map again.
It is.
I seen something happening for Peninsula-ism. And no spectators, no fans coming in the game for those schools of Hampton.
I believe that's right. I don't think there's going to be many fans in a lot of places. They're going to probably be relegated to watching online through the streaming methods, whether it be on the NFHS network, Facebook Live, YouTube, you name it. We can tell you, I don't know if it's been reported by any of the local media outlets outside of us at VirginiaPreps.com, but we can confirm that the city of Suffolk is only playing football against each other. Kings Fork, Lakeland, and Nansemond River. So they're going to have a Suffolk City Championship, and those teams will not be advancing to the regional tournament in the case, or regional playoffs in the case of Nansemond River in Class 5, Kings Fork in Region 4A, and Lakeland in Region 3A. And we put that in full release that the Suffolk superintendent, Mr. Gordon, put out. It's on our VIP board. It's also on my Twitter feed if you go look at it on VirginiaPreps.com. So they will not be – that will be one less team in those fields for the playoffs. We're here, and they may shave off a game for the Eastern District potentially. I know the Beach has already shaved off a game for everybody with the exception of Bayside, who had to bye that first week. So it's still a very fluid situation. And I'm not quite sure, Keith, how the Chesapeake schools, Deep Creek, Oscar Smith, Grassfield, Western Branch, Indian River, Hickory, Great Bridge, are going to fill their schedule with those Suffolk schools unable to play them now.
Oh, how about Newport News schools like Heritage and all of them? Yeah,
to our understanding, Newport News and Hampton are both proceeding forward with playing. So that's what we've been told. So,
okay, man. My pick for the game tomorrow, I'm picking Tampa Bay beat Kansas City tomorrow.
Give me a score and MVP. What you got?
31-27. MVP Tom Brady.
You're picking Tampa Bay 31-27 and Brady as the MVP. We're going to give away mystery gift. This is courtesy of Matt Hatfield, not ESPN Radio. I don't make sure I put that disclaimer right here first. If somebody hits the score on the nose, you're going to get a shirt and or mystery gift card of your choice. So that's going to come courtesy of me as I do this little contest every year with the picks. Nobody got it last year, believe it or not. So if you get that, Keith, you'll get a prize coming your way.
Yes, sir. You have a nice day. And tell Ed Young say hi.
I will tell him that. That's the one and only Keith from Fairmont, sometimes Smithfield, occasionally Hopewell. He's everywhere, and he's loved everywhere. We'll take a timeout and come back with Darren Sanderlin, head basketball coach of the Kempsville Chiefs. It's coming your way right here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
757 Saturday Sports Talk is powered by Larry King Law. If you're injured in an accident, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King. Matt Hatfield here with you. Kyle Hightower as well. Anything you want to talk about in the world of sports, you're more than welcome to do so at 757-687-9494. That's our phone number, 757-687-9494, as we await Darren Sanderlin. I spoke to him for a brief moment late last night, and I know he's getting ready for, I don't know if it's a practice or film session or something today as they get the regionals going next week. His Chiefs will be playing host to Bayside coming up on Monday at 6 o'clock over there at Kempsville High. He's done a great job there, 5-1 on the season, 5 straight wins after dropping that opener to Princess Anne, and they got a Division II signee in Dominic Stanford, Lander University in South Carolina. Is where he's going to play his college ball. He's been a really fine scorer and overall player for them this year, leading the charge for his Chiefs over there at Kempsville High. So we'll hopefully dig into that with Coach D Nice, as they call him, in just a bit here. But I did get some clarification thanks to Alonzo Coley, Kickatanny head football coach out there listening. It looks like the Peninsula is going to play a 5-game schedule weeks 2 through 6, if I'm seeing it right, for the games. They're going to be at Darling Stadium and Todd Stadium. They're going to begin on Thursday, February 25th. Menchville playing Phoebus at Darling. Warwick playing Denby at Todd. That Friday, the 26th, is going to be Hampton Kickatanny at Darling, Gloucester Woodside at Todd. And then that Saturday, the 27th, is Bethel and Heritage over at John B. Todd Stadium in Newport News. So there you have it. And we'll post those once that definitely gets verified by the people in the Peninsula. I don't want to get anybody in trouble there. We'll put that out there for folks in Virginia for VirginiaPreps.com. Everybody check out there. So at this time, though, we are privileged to be joined by the head men's basketball coach of the Kempsville Chiefs. He got himself a state title at Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk as a player, as a head coach, and he could ball back in his day. And he's got some guys balling right now at Kempsville. We say hello to Darren Sanderlin here on ESPN Radio 94.1. D Nice, my man, how you doing?
Good, Matt. How you doing? Good morning to you, man.
I'm doing well. Good morning to you. Great job for your squad. You lost that first one to Princess Anne, and I know you were still trying to get the kinks ironed out and get the guys in a groove here, and wasn't sure we were going to have a season, but 5 in a row, you're playing some good ball right now.
Yes, sir. Things are starting to come together. You know, with practice, which we weren't able to do during the early stages of the season due to COVID. That now we're starting to get chemistry through practice and learn one another. You know, you can't be a team until you can be a team.
So true. Now, be honest with me. Did you think back in December, first week of January, we were going to have a season? Because it was looking like and sounded like from people, if you read the tea leaves, that the Beach might be the first to pull the plug.
Yes, sir. I actually didn't, and that was one of the reasons that we had a late start because, we weren't able to get together. We weren't able to practice. And I also like to send my feelings and my, not condolences, but to all the schools that aren't able to play, all the athletes and coaches who aren't able to play. I really would like to, my heart goes out to them because, I know there's a lot of people out there that love this game and wants to be playing right now. My heart really goes out to them.
Yeah, and I know you're a Booker through and through. I know you played there and you once coached there. You still got love for him. I know you're a Kempsville Chief right now, but if you were still coaching in the Eastern District, this would be hard to swallow, wouldn't it?
Whoa, for me? Oh, my God, I'll be sick right now. So that's why, my feeling goes out to those schools, and coaches and players that put so much time and energy into this game but not able to play.
It's interesting. You just had a young man, we'll talk about it here in a moment, Dominic Stanford, signed with Lander University, Division II in South Carolina, and everything I've heard and seen and interacting with him, he's not only just a fine ball player, he's a terrific young man off the court, high character and all those things. But one of the things that he said stuck with me, and other players that I've spoke with, Coach, through Zoom and so forth, have kind of echoed the same thing. He said, even though the season is going to be short, my team and I are very thankful for the opportunity to play and be able to cherish these last few high school moments we had together. And you know how special it was when you were playing and winning the state title at Booker T. I mean, these are memories and moments that last a lifetime.
Yes, sir. I mean, you develop lifelong friendships. You develop just lifelong experiences that you keep with you into your adult life. You know, so these experiences, like you say, the game teaches life lessons. And you take it with you, and it stays with you. So not being able to do that kind of cannot stunt but delay your development, you know, not just as a ball player but as a young person.
For this team right now, we've only played 6 games, so it's so strange having a 6-game season going into the playoffs. For those that haven't watched the Kempsville Chiefs, and they say, you know, I can't come to the games because of the restrictions. However, I might pull up on that NFHS network to stream one of their playoff games, see what they're about. What would you tell the common fan out there, the basketball novice, if you will, what this team does well and sort of the identity?
Well, Matt, I appreciate you having me on the show, but I just like the fact that we keep getting better with each game. I don't want to get into specifics because we are going for the title now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
COVID or no COVID, you know, you got to be playing to win it all. And but actually, you know, our chemistry has been our biggest strength. You know, playing together and accepting each other's, you know, strengths as well as our flaws, and supporting each other. Just being a team, not only when we're doing good, but being a team when things are not so good.
You know, I asked this last night after his team's win over Lansdowne, Coach Kenneth Harris. We did a Zoom with him. We're going to post on Virginia Preps. And I'm going to throw the same question to you. You're in the midst of it, so you enjoy it thoroughly. But is there also that mixed feeling of angst and anxiety, like, man, I'm just hoping I don't get that phone call that we're on pause or something? Because it's already happening, Coach, across the state. We've seen some schools, not from the Hampton Roads area, but Western Albemarle, William Campbell, that have basically, they get told you're going to the playoffs, a 6-1 team, in fact, and now you're done because of COVID.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when we first got the privilege, and I definitely believe it's a privilege to be able to play this season, one of the things I stressed to the guys were, and we got to take care of ourselves, and we got to do the right things, and we got to be in preventive mode, meaning don't put yourself in harm's way, even though you can get it and not be in harm's way, but definitely make sure we don't put ourselves in harm's way and do the right things to make sure that, you know, we don't have to get a COVID protocol and not be able to play. You know, and I think our guys have been disciplined enough to be able to do that, and I'm thankful, very thankful.
We're chatting with Darren Sanderlin. He's the head basketball coach of the Kempsville Chiefs, our guest here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. A few more minutes here with Coach before his team's regional playoff game coming up on Monday night at 6 o'clock as they play host to the 6th-seeded Bayside Marlins. They are the 3rd seed. It's ESPN Radio 94.1, and I'll get to that playoff situation in a moment, Coach.
We finished up, Matt. We finished at the 3rd seed.
Yeah, well, I guess you're not aware. I'm going to get to that in a minute with you, Coach, because that's some strange stuff to say the least. But we just got the official bracket from the region chair via email about an hour ago. But before I get to that here, tell the audience about the young man Dominic Stanford here. I think he's not only is he a really good player, I think he's one of the more underrated players in Division V across the state. There's some great players certainly across the board, whether they play at LC Bird or Northern Virginia or down here at Green Run, Lansdowne, you name the schools. But he certainly can score with some of the best.
Yes, sir. First of all, like you said, he's a very good kid, very coachable kid, character intact, respect intact, humble. I mean, all the good qualities you would like in a ball player. And so it seems very unassuming, but he's a talent in process. Like, he can play, and he's only going to get better because he loves the gym. He works hard, and he's always trying to get better and understand what he can do to get better. I mean, he's a terrific kid to coach.
Well, it's not a one-man show. Tell us about some other players on your team. I know you brought back some other pieces like Elijah White, Marcus Delbridge, and others. Tell us about some other players on that squad for you.
Yes, sir. Eli, trying to get him to get a veteran mind state. He has some skills and some tools. What we're working on with him now is being able to play the game like an experienced guard. You're a junior now, and you've been playing for since your freshman year. You should be able to be experienced now, playing the game not from the body up, but from the head down. Also, Rondre Bynum, who's been giving us some great, actually quality minutes, coming off the bench. who actually cracked the starting lineup, really. You got McKidd Jackson and Landon Ford. And everybody, like I said, is just buying in right now, and we're growing together as a team. And, Dominic is taking the lead, as being the leader of our team. And we're getting more and more confident with each day in practice in every game.
Well, it's very similar to last year's run for you, I think, too, Coach, because you kind of, finished up strong. It was your first year at the helm there after the decorated time at Booker T, your alma mater, where you won more than 200 games there, won a state championship. You get to Kempsville. You knew they had some pieces, but you got to a little bit of a slow start, and you ended up getting the first regional playoff win for the school in about 12, 13 years.
Yes, sir, and eventually losing to the eventual state champs, you know what I mean, or co-state champs. So I like the run we had last year. And like I said earlier, you can't be a team until you're a team. So, the slow starters contribute to basically, you get guys coming in, especially this year, and I'm going to do this year. I'm going to do that this year. I'm going to do this. What about we? What about we're going to do this? We're going to do that. We're going to win, and so it takes a little time. You know what I mean? So before you can get into, or for me as a coach, before I can get into all these X and O's and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, I want to make sure that we are a team first.
Well, it's been the MO of your squads going back to Booker T days. They don't want to see the Bookers come January, February. They don't want to see the Chiefs sometimes now. It feels like January or here in February as we get to the postseason. Now, you mentioned those reigning state champs or co-champs from a season ago. To read you what we were sent this morning, the final standings, and for our reference, the region did not establish, this is what they're telling me, a minimum number of games that teams needed to play this year in order to compete in the tournament. Due to a tie in power ratings, the tie-breaking procedures outlined in the Region 5 handbook ended in a lot draw. So, believe it or not, Cox at 1-0 wins a tiebreaker. I don't know how 1-0 is tied with 5-0, but, go figure. Green Run is the 2 seed, and you're not going to say it, and I don't want you to be critical here, but I'll say it right now for you, Coach. I mean, you won't say it, but I just think it's absolutely ludicrous that, you get the screw job here as a 3 seed. You might have to see Green Run in the semifinals as opposed to a region championship in your gym next Saturday. Wow.
That's high school coaches can't be fined. That's not right.
No, it's not. I agree with you.
That's not right. And no knock on Cox or any particular team, but that's not right. You can't go 1-0 and you got a 5-0 or a 5-1 and on the basis of one game, you end up being a second seed.
Right. Listen, Darren, I'd be okay if Cox was the 5 seed because then they would be ahead of anybody 500 or below. But when they've only played one game, they can't be ahead of Green Run, Kempsville, PA. That makes no sense. And that's nothing against Bobby Wolf and his program. They do a great job. That's nothing against them, like you said, but it just makes no sense to me.
Oh, man. I'm going to leave it at that, Matt.
Yeah. I didn't mean to be the bearer of bad news. I thought you knew before we got on this call, but they just sent this out an hour ago. It is beyond my comprehension as well. And what's sad too, Coach, and this is I'm going to leave it at this. What's sad is now this region, I don't want to say our region, but your region across the state, as we put this out on social media this morning, now people are putting all kinds of emojis laughing at it. They think this is a joke, and it's not a joke. It's actually real.
I mean, because any level-headed sports fan or individual recognize that shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. That just shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Well,
I didn't want to see, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I keep it. I'm gonna keep it 100. That was our fight.
Sure.
Our fight is to avoid seeing Green Run until then. Not saying that we're going to beat Bayside or discredit to anybody else, but that's our goal. That was our goal. I mean, You got to beat the champs. You got to beat the champs, and so like you said, as far as taking that early loss to PA, we basically was trying to avoid taking any other loss. So if we have to run into those men in green, that we could catch them, like you say. in the regional finals.
Right, and you know what? And if you're gonna make the argument, which you're not, but they're gonna make the argument that they tied in terms of win percentage, the number of games weren't the same. Okay, then go to your tiebreaker being margin of victory, not a coin flip or a lot draw, because Cox won by 5. Green Run's pummeled everybody by 30 plus, with the exception of Lansdowne, who they beat by 15 last night without their best player.
Wow.
It doesn't make any sense, but. Well, nonetheless, I'll end it at that. Best wishes to you and your Chiefs moving forward. Look forward to seeing what you guys do the rest of the postseason and beyond. And you be well, my friend, and stay safe, okay?
Yes, sir. Love you, Matt.
That is the one and only D-Nice, Darren Sanderlin, with us here at Kempsville High, head basketball coach on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Kyle, even he, as the coach of a team playing a playoff game in 48 hours or so, did not know. That is just amazing and astonishing to me that they did not inform the coaches before they sent it to me and the media.
It's a bit crazy.
Very crazy. We'll move past it because I could just dwell on this the whole show. I'd love to get Ed Young's take before we do Fact or Fiction with him, and also do some Super Bowl picks, prop picks as well. Give us a call at 757-687-9490 for open topic. You want to talk about some high school, some college hoops, ODU's big one last night, or the Super Bowl, anything you like, 757-687-9490. We'll pop you in here next on ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
We're asking this morning at 757-687-9494. You can tweet us at 757 Sports Talk, your Super Bowl pick and MVP for a chance to win yourself a Virginia Preps t-shirt and or a mystery gift card from yours truly. Matt Hatfield here with you. Kyle Hightower, other side of the glass. We'll be talking with Laura Oakman, sideline reporter for Westwood One, as she will be working the team tomorrow right here on ESPN Radio 94.1 with the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner and Kevin Harlan calling the game, Tony Basile, the other sideline reporter. And we'll dive into the Super Bowl with her in a bit, and then we'll do some prop picks, if you will, the prop bets, see what Kyle and Ed think about that, as well as our fact or fictions. We go through some Super Bowl nuggets, odds, and ends with you. Again, phone lines are open at 757-687-9490. And Kyle can punch up here in a bit our poll question that we got up there on 757 Sports Talk too. You know what else is today or this weekend, Kyle? Besides the Super Bowl, you got the arguably best rivalry in sports, and that can maybe generate a little bit of a topic here. Some will say, well, that's Yankees-Red Sox, or say that's, Michigan and Ohio State, or Alabama, Auburn in football. No, we're talking about North Carolina Duke today, and it's the first time neither is ranked since February 27th, 1960. 61 years ago. That was back when Mike Krzyzewski and Roy Williams were jumping out of windows at frat parties, right? Maybe? I don't know. Maybe Roy.
Maybe Coach K.
Oh, you say maybe Coach K.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be
Coach K at West Point.
Yeah, did he lose his toupee? No, I'm sorry. No, it's weird because someone asked me this yesterday. Well, is it conceivable that they both missed the tournament? I mean, you think of the blue bloods in college basketball that are struggling right now. Kentucky, I don't see any way, save winning the SEC tournament, that they get in. Michigan State's not having a great year, and you could have argued they were playing as well as anybody in the country last year when COVID halted things, and they didn't get a chance to compete for an NCAA national title. We know about Cassius Winston being the headliner for that team, and they had gotten to a Final Four just 12 months earlier. But all these blue bloods, I mean, Kansas, people are still loving them up, and they had their worst Big 12 start since the creation of the Big 12, going from the Big 8 to the Big 12. You don't have some of these power programs having their typical success. And outside of Gonzaga, Baylor, and I know you're a big Gonzaga fan. We asked this to David Teal last week on the show from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer. Would you take Gonzaga or the field? And he said the field. It's two reasons being A, COVID, and B, Baylor, who's very good and, by the way, pulled away from Texas, led by Matt Coleman, the former Maury High floor general and point guard. But I'll ask you, Kyle, being the Gonzaga guy that you are, someone else this week who I spoke with who's in the sport of college basketball. I can't name his name. He's a current person working the sport. He told me Gonzaga. So would you go Gonzaga, or do you think the field is the way to go with that if you had to pick?
I'm going with Gonzaga. I think this is probably the best team Mark Few's ever had.
They're pretty stacked.
It's close to being, if it's not, I think it's better than that team that made the national championship.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But it's close. because that team had a lot of size.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach Collins came off the bench on that team, didn't he? He was the sixth man.
He was a freshman.
Yeah, I think he was the sixth man on that team that lost to UNC in the title game, and they had a chance to win that title game late. But he's in the NBA. But
I want to say Sabonis was on that team too.
I think he was. I think you're right. Yeah, and look what he's turned out to be, Domantas Sabonis. But you got Corey Kispert, Drew Timme, Jalen Suggs. I mean, he's like the first 5-star they've ever had. I mean, to me, you can't compare it's different eras and games, but they haven't had a guard like that that just wows the stuffings out of you since. I mean, people say, well, Dan Dickau, but I mean, you might have to bring up that HOF name and John Stockton. He's really, really good, and I think he's going to be the star of the tournament should we get there with no issues. They're going to be hard to beat. I'm not as crazy loving Baylor as everybody else is. I know their perimeter trio is tremendous. I don't know about their front court. If they run into somebody, like, for example, even if, and I'm not big on Michigan, although they've proven me wrong here, if someone like that hits a bunch of threes, I think they could knock them out. The thing that's interesting to me today is with UNC Duke, I don't know that this game has as much juice as it does with them both being, dare I say, average or not as stellar as they are. Is that a game, and you're a big sports hoop junkie, is that a game you'll put on and watch and get into, or is it just, it's just another game today with Carolina and Duke?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to watch too much of it.
That's what's weird. It doesn't have the buildup it usually has. Is there a better game on the docket than that today? I mean, there's got to be a game that you say, oh, that's a better game. Ranked teams or something of that nature than Carolina and Duke. I mean, Alabama, Missouri, it's a pretty good game coming up at 12 noon on ESPN. Alabama's been a surprise this year to a degree. Kansas, West Virginia has ramifications in the Big 12 as Huggy Bear tries to...
Texas against Oklahoma State, Texas against Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, and he's a future lottery pick, it does seem like. But yeah, the game doesn't have Illinois, Wisconsin's intriguing. Illinois probably should have lost this week, that game to Indiana. They were fortunate to pull that one out, I thought. But it just doesn't have the buzz to it. So what do you think? Is that the best rivalry in sports? You can weigh in at 757-687-9494 or hit us up on our Twitter feed at 757 Sports Talk. We do have a poll question up there, do we not? Or am I mistaken? I think we do. Unless I'm mistaken. All right, what do we have up there today?
All right, so excluding the quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, which player has the best chance to be named Super Bowl MVP on Sunday? Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Jason Pierre-Paul, or other?
I think those three are the top that come to mind. And maybe you've got another one outside of me. I can't go Gronk and Mike Evans. And a lot of the Bucs weapons, they kind of cancel each other out. I mean, JPP could have a big game with that defense. They've got some other guys there, too, on the defensive side of the ball that could step up. I mean, Murphy Bunting has been a revelation this postseason as a guy getting picks. He reminds me of Ricky Manning Jr. back several years ago with Carolina when he just burst onto the scene. And he's been pretty good before this playoff run. But Tyreek Hill had 200 yards in the first quarter in the first meeting. And Travis Kelce, I think that's why I would almost go with Kelce here, Kyle's, because they're going to put so much attention on Hill, middle of the field, those safeties coming off injuries, Winfield and Whitfield. I think he's going to have a monster game and expose that defense down the middle there if they, obviously have time for Patrick Mahomes to operate and sling it around like he's been doing. So I kind of like Travis Kelce of those three choices.
Yeah, I like Tyreek Hill just because of what he did the first game, and that's like the one person you game plan for, and he can still beat you even if you're game planning for him. I will say maybe like dark horses, either Clyde Edwards-Helaire or one of the running backs for Tampa Bay if they win, because if it is like the soggy, wet conditions, that might be more conducive to the run game than the pass game. Yeah,
I'll have to get into the weather a little bit with Laura Oakman about the Super Bowl coming up tomorrow as far as what that forecast is looking like and how things could be affected there. The running backs don't get as much attention in this Super Bowl. It seems like years ago you always saw like, all right, Marcus Allen or Terrell Davis or Emmitt Smith, even going back further to those John Riggins days. That big run, Thurman Thomas. Those are good backs, but all you hear, it seems like, is Brady Mahomes, Brady Mahomes, Brady Mahomes. I do wonder what the Vegas, maybe we'll pull it up on the props, what the odds are that if you could put some shekels down, wink, wink, of what it is to pick. If you can make the wager, I'm picking MVP and it's not a quarterback, what those odds are. In other words, you're picking anybody on the board. So it's almost like my Gonzaga field question for college basketball. I'm taking MVP not being one of those two guys. You probably can get pretty decent odds at that, I would think.
I would think so. I mean, it's just the quarterbacks just almost always get MVP. We even saw last year Mahomes got it, even though I think it was Damian Williams had a big game with rushing and receiving.
Well, I remember, and he's one of the all-time great quarterbacks. Peyton Manning did not have – he had I wouldn't say lousy game. He had a very so-so game to me when the Colts beat Dino's Bears in that rainy Super Bowl, and he got the MVP because there was just nobody else that outshined the competition for him to get it. So he was the name they gave it to him. I mean, literally, I think quarterbacks have won, what is it, like 10 of the last 13 MVPs in the Super Bowl? I mean, it's been linebackers like Malcolm Smith for Seattle and Von Miller. Outside of that, it's almost always quarterback. Shouldn't have been Santonio Holmes that year, by the way.
Yeah, it's usually the quarterback. That's just kind of the default, like, oh, we don't know who to go with. We're going to go with the quarterback of the winning team.
Now, that would have been interesting to see what they would have done. Would they have gone Warner or Fitzgerald if had the Cardinals not blown it in the last minute and a half thanks to Aaron that putts Francisco? I still don't like that guy. If I ever run into him, I'm going to punch him. It might lock me up for a year, but I'll punch him. Blew us the Super Bowl. I think Warner would have probably edged out Fitzgerald for that. It'd have been close. All right, well, we're going to take a timeout as I tear up over that. Start getting sad. We had the game won and we blew it. We'll come back with Laura Oakman, who will talk about this year's Super Bowl, not that miserable finish to Super Bowl 43 with my Cardinals and the Steelers. Bucks and Chiefs, it's coming your way tomorrow. We'll tackle it with her on ESPN Radio 94.1.